Beryl back there with camera, and Joshua. They're both very experienced young people. They have really good raw food vegan skills, and so they've been a real help. We make food for the farmers market. We teach the classes and we do things like this. So we've been having fun. Joshua will tell you about the chocolate and what the ingredients are. We're not going to make this chocolate. You're welcome to try it, and he'll tell you why. It has, in our opinion, has some superior qualities. We also have papers here. I don't know if those of you don't have one. I can wait a minute. Let me do this when I talk. I'll just let you talk first. This is Joshua's going to tell you about raw chocolate.
Hi, everybody. So basically, chocolate that you guys are eating now, the source of it comes from something called a cacao tree. And the cacao tree basically grows all around the equator. So it's basically where the sun is the most intense, is where this tree can thrive. And after a couple years, these basically football-shaped pods start to grow kind of off the limb and the trunk of the tree. And they come in different colors, from orange to yellow to brown. And what happens is when you break these football-sized pods open, you discover a white fruit. And inside the white fruit are essentially these seeds. Now this is a broken up form. These are called cacao nibs. But basically, chocolate as we know it comes from a seed. That's the original source. The reason that it's so bitter partially is because it's so high in minerals. It's really high in sulfur, in magnesium. These are really beneficial minerals, especially for our hearts and other organs. It also is really high in something called PEA, which has been called the love bliss chemical because it's the same chemical that's released in our brains when we're in love, which is probably why so many people love chocolate, because it gives you that same feeling, you know.
Do you have more than that?
And honestly, for me, this has been such a wonderful blessing to discover raw chocolate, because I've always loved chocolate, but I always felt not necessarily guilt, but a certain degree of, well, I love this food, but it's not necessarily the healthiest. And when I discovered how healthy chocolate in its raw form is before it's cooked or processed, I discovered that I can not only eat chocolate, but that so that was huge, just like, yeah. So basically, when we make these chocolates here that you guys are going to taste, there are two main ways of making the chocolate. Normal chocolate manufacturers will take these nibs, or these beans, they'll roast them, which destroys some of the vitamins and minerals and even some of the chemicals that help our brain. And then they, add sugar and milk. Our process is somewhat similar, except there's no roasting involved. We basically just take these nibs, we grind them up into kind of a thick paste, and then from there, over very, very low heat, we take something you guys have probably seen before in sometimes beauty shops. It's cacao butter. Now, sometimes you'll find a very white cacao butter, like as a lotion in stores, and that's cacao butter that's been really refined, kind of bleached. That way it's white and appealing to put on the skin. But the low temperature process looks more kind of yellowish, as you guys can tell, and you guys can pass it around too. You can even smell it through the bag. Basically, that butter is what happens when you press the bean. You take the oil out, which is the cacao butter, and what you're left with is cacao powder, which I can pass around. Also called cocoa powder.
Those nibs, that's the oil from the nibs.
If you wanted to, if you got interested in this, we could actually make the chocolate, and I could sell the ingredients too, because I buy them wholesale. They're available.
Yeah,
too much.
you definitely need. That's really dry, and you need a sweetener with it. So once we've melted down that cacao butter, you guys have just passed around. We add things like organic fair trade vanilla extract.
From what country?
This one is southern India. Yeah. And honestly, where your vanilla comes from is super important, because a lot of these vanilla bean farmers get such a tiny amount of money that to buy fair trade really supports the people who are growing it. So I always encourage people to do that. So we melt all that down. We add over very low temperature. We add our vanilla. We add something called agave nectar. You guys seen this before?
Yeah, but I don't know much about it.
Basically, it's a low glycemic sweetener, so it won't elevate your blood sugar. So people with diabetes or blood sugar problems can handle smaller amounts. It comes from a cactus in the desert, and it's great. It's somewhat like maple syrup. It's kind of thick, has a nice, really, this actually has kind of a vanilla taste to it.
Where do you buy it?
You can buy this at Whole Foods.
Most grocery stores.
Yeah. And it's
Per press.
do you use it as a sugar equivalent, like 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of agave, or is it sweeter?
It's sweeter than.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Everything to
So
taste.
tone it down a little bit.
When we make recipes, we put salt and the sweetener in last because you never, when you're using raw ingredients, they're not always the same. Like we're using avocados here. There's some avocados that taste a little this way, and some tomatoes are way different. There's a sweet tomato and a sour tomato. So just add your sweeteners and salt to taste. Even though there is a recipe for, I'm going to make chocolate mousse in a minute, which is a little different. But you can make this. This is easy to do right now. Because chocolate is a little more complicated.
And one of our secret ingredients in the chocolate that we make at Raw Food Central is something called coconut butter. Not to be confused with coconut oil, because coconut oil is just the straight oil that's pressed from the coconut. This is actually, if you were to take that whole coconut and grind it up like you were making peanut butter, that's basically coconut butter. And it's almost like a milk chocolate substitute. It gives it a rich texture, a creaminess that you can't normally get with just straight raw dark chocolate. And basically then we can add special ingredients like on one of them we've added lavender essential oil to give it a little bit of lavender. You could add, other spices, like we like to put cinnamon. Sometimes we'll put in something called superfoods, like goji berries are a great addition. And basically once we're done, this is what we have. We have these beautiful raw chocolates.
They have a sheen, just like your paper, right? The super chocolate. It doesn't have quite a snap unless you're keeping it frozen.
Yeah.
Because it has coconut oil, it's not, coconut butter, it's just not going to be as firm as the chocolate that's cooked. It has different qualities, but I think you might want to try it. I know you've been chocolated out here, but these are really good.
And the best part about this chocolate is you get all the nutrients in their whole form, and it's so good for your heart, chocolate is.
It's a bit of a laxative. So if you're constipated, have a little of this chocolate and you'll feel a lot better. Plus, there you go.
Wow.
Isn't that good?
Good.
Never heard of it.
When I went on this diet, when I eat regular chocolate, which is very acidic, I hurt. My inflammation is bad, so I get real stiff with regular chocolate. This doesn't do that. And this is really, I consider this food.
Well, there's nothing back there.
It's all raw food. It doesn't keep as well in the car to melt down, but it'll taste just the same whether it's melted or not. So if it does melt down, throw it back in the freezer or the refrigerator and it'll firm up in whatever shape it's in. And you can keep this. Okay. And so the other people would be too late. They just get the sign and finish this all on the time. See, my eye goes to this and then, my eye goes to this one and then I think we move
Yeah. And if you guys want to learn how to make your own raw chocolates, just like the ones we passed around, you can take a brochure. We also have papers we're going to pass around. Catherine offers basically chocolate making classes, so you guys can learn how to do this for yourselves.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.